This episode changes everything, and this is my video breaking it down, reviewing it, and telling you what I thought and what I think is going to happen next. I'm going to break down that episode with each part, but obviously what's on my mind right now is that insane end credit scene that completely turns everything on its head and makes me really excited. This episode starts 2 months ago from where we are right now on Monument Day, where World War I actually started. And it's this scene that actually looks like it was filmed at the start of season 1. They look a lot younger. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually was just some deleted scene or an intentional thing they've done and saved for the final episode. I quite liked it. It's to show how far they've come from the kids that have been sheltered all their life to where they are right now, being experienced in the apocalypse. But it also showed me that Iris, Hope and Elton haven't actually changed that much. I don't buy it that she's some bad girl now, some warrior, some killer. It just seems contrived. Hope cried even more and was more annoying in season 2 than she was in season 1. Elton is more cringy. Silas to me is the only one that's had some really good growth. I know they're all able to kill zombies now, and that was a big part of it, but even look at Silas' story. He's had a revelation in life. He's now working undercover within the CRM. He despises them, and he had to restrain himself from what Jadis was saying to him at the end. That's progress from his impulsive anger issues in season 1. You look at Iris, Hope, she's still the same. She still cries all the time. In this episode, we got some really cool CRM gunfights and a really cool one-on-one between Felix and Elizabeth's hand. A CRM soldier that is head of command fights Felix, and it was really cool. It's interesting to me, and I don't know if it's intentional, that Felix acts a lot like Rick Grimes. Like, you can actually see when he fights, he has the mannerisms, the facial expression. I wonder if that's setting up some kind of future unity. At the end of season 1, it was clear it was almost being set up as some kind of rebellion that Felix would end up leading. Now that we're finished with the whole show, it's clear that's still really likely, as Felix ended up being almost the Rick of his small group in World Beyond. All these scientists are under his lead. Then Jadis comes to confront Huck, and they had this really cool fight scene, and Huck starts talking to her about what she did to get into the city, trading in her life. And Jadis, of course, mentions Rick again, saying how, yeah, she traded someone, but she said he was a B rather than him being an A. She sees that as a good deed and says that she owed him that much. So what we get from this, he just confirms further that Jadis did a favour for him, that as soon as she got to the CRM, she wasn't just this cold psycho to him and the reason he's not seen his family yet. We already know from her first episode in World Beyond that she had some kind of regret when she got here. She lost her purpose, but eventually signed up for the cause that she's a part of now. This tells us that Jadis knows Rick is likely okay. She talks about it like he's fine, he's in the city. She owed him that much, he's not dead. The first thing Huck went to about the dark things that the CRM doing what Jadis has done is that life that she must have traded in to even get here, and Jadis just gives it all clear. No, she didn't kill him. I may have been involved in the killing of a city of 100,000 people, but I didn't kill Rick. I'm not some kind of savage.
I had someone special. I had an A, but I said that he was a B so he wouldn't end up in your mother's lab. I owed him that much.
Jadis also describes in detail how they managed to take out an entire city, a chemical strike, obviously the gas we've seen. Thanks to Huck's intel, that's how they took the whole city out, and Jadis just doesn't give a shit. But again, using Gabriel's second name, talking nicely of Rick and how she saved him, she's still got a bit of Jadis in there that if anything secures Rick's safety. She can be involved in a whole city being destroyed because it's for the cause, but I think when it comes to Rick or even Gabriel, these are things that hit really close to home, and I think it's the very thing that will bring her ego back down to earth. And that's essentially the downfall of the CRM. And this whole confrontation ended in Huck's death. I like that there's little hints that Jadis doesn't want to kill her, but she still does it. Again, this is personal with her because this is the person who trained her when she first arrived. This was her mentor. But either way, she kills her, but not before explaining to Jadis about her gold watch that was her dad's. Elizabeth always told her this is the watch that brings them all together, and it will reunite her with her father because it's used as a timer on the devices that would then blow up the gas. So Jadis has to make a run for it. Huck bleeds out. The gas explodes. A really good, meaningful death, and I think it was actually cleverly done because it's going to massively affect Elizabeth, which we're going to get onto. I was never really a fan of Huck. In season 1, I thought she had all the personality of a croc, trying to be the skinny Pete of The Walking Dead. But when you see things like this and they're just looking back at it like some distant memory, like season 1 was just an illusion, that's what makes it sad. As far as the Rick Grimes movies go, everything that's set before right now Huck could be in, because again, she was Jadis' mentor. The only way she wouldn't be in those movies now if they just show Jadis isn't that important. She's just the character that got him there. Then Elton gets his arm bitten trying to save Hope. Now, I think the scene itself was a good scene. I think it was well done, actually. But I just can't be bothered anymore when people lose their arms. I feel like it's just a cheat code for character development, because he's not had much. In a harsh kind of way, although I like World Beyond, I do hope the showrunners and, I mean, Scott Gimple, he's known as the boss of The Walking Dead. So let's say Scott Gimple, I hope he sees the feedback of these characters and discontinues their involvement in the Rick movies, honestly. Because these 3 characters here walking to the city, 100% being set up to appear in them. I hope they walk away from the city to their left and go down to the motorway. It's really likely that the remaining characters that we saw alive are going to be in the Rick movies, and I honestly just hope that's changed. I think they've risked way too much with Iris. They've just assumed everyone's going to love her, and they've put her forth as some hero. But I feel like no one's eaten it, no one's bought that, but it's clearly already been connected to some major storylines. You might remember the connection I made between the phone that Michonne found with the sketch on it and the drawings that Iris has in her dreams and what she does. That's really similar. So if they're connecting Iris to Michonne and this big army are the Portland reinforcements, that's a massive connection that they've already made. I genuinely hope that they can change that, because it doesn't seem like a great idea at all. Again, it just feels like they've put so much faith in people loving these characters, and I think people like them. I like a few of them. But the showrunners treat Iris like an Ellie from The Last of Us, like everyone loves her. The characters in the show are having little metaphorical parades about her. But I don't think she's that good, or as good as the showrunners think she is, and I think that's an issue if she's going to be the secondary protagonist of the Rick movies, which obviously isn't going to happen. But their stories have clearly carried over to somewhere else past the show that they're from, so we're going to see how that is. I think Scott Gimple, I've always said this, I have a lot of admiration for how clearly ambitious and creative he is about the Walking Dead universe, but honestly I think there's just a lot of frustration about Rick right now, so to come out and say there's another show and they're going to be in it now, it might not be the best idea, unless he actually comes out and says straight up, this show, although being about the CRM and other places in the universe, you will find out about Rick. I mean, since World Beyond was revealed, you know I've been saying that because it's obvious to me, and you watching this right now, it's obvious, it's a given. It's always been about Rick. I don't care what anyone says about that, but a lot of people don't know that, and there's always that possibility that it's not, and that just causes frustration because there's been no communication. What World Beyond was announced as, and what I've always seen it as, is just something to start the groundwork, show you more of the mythology of the CRM with some obvious Rick Grimes references, something that you'll understand when you watch it. But to have the characters actually go to the city where Rick is, and for them to carry on their little journey after the show's finished, that to me isn't the end of World Beyond, it's the end of their 2-season show limited series. They're still going on, and that to me, just in my opinion, is a danger. Dennis and Silas hear the explosions and know that Huck sent them away on purpose so that they wouldn't be there. Dennis is wounded, and now that Huck's dead, he doesn't really see much point in carrying on. He's not going to make it. The CRM know he betrayed them, so he tells Silas to shoot him. We see some great acting from Silas here, and Dennis wasn't much of a massive character, but it was really, really cool how he went out, and I think the most meaningful way he could have got Silas into the CRM. So Silas shoots him in the head, and he's seen as someone who killed a CRM traitor. He's all for the cause. He's a soldier that is secretly pretty much undercover now. More so than before, where he was working at the lowest rank in the CRM. Now he's a soldier, and essentially Jadis is his little mentor. So I expect to see him in the Rick movies. I wouldn't mind that, not only because I prefer him to the other characters, but as long as the World Beyond characters have a distant involvement in Rick. Just a side story to what's actually going on, which I think is a lot more dark. Something really cool is coming, and I think the end credit scene promises that. It's fine if they want to have their Disney XD Nickelodeon show, as long as it's a secondary storyline to what I think matters. We then see Elizabeth sitting by herself, having already heard about the news of Huck, her daughter, and I think this is by far the saddest scene in the show. She looks opposite to her and sees her mother and her daughter. Throughout the show, we saw these little chinks in the armor of Elizabeth and the CRM. She would get teary about it. She'd almost break CRM character. And finally, now that her daughter's actually died from it all, she completely doubts the CRM. And she gets sent to jail after having a really cool confrontation scene with Jadis.
And I brought you in for a security audit.
You brought me in to a world of shit.
And so now I think that's already redemption in itself. She's just completely spat in Jadis' face pretty much. But now she's someone with a lot of knowledge and no doubt wants to help whoever Huck was friends with. I do think eventually she will die. I think we're bound to see her again in the Rick movies. It's weird to say that, but I just think she's going to die because she's going to tell people information that she knows about. Having been so high up and to be put in jail for that, I think is a big deal. And she actually said to Jadis, Bill will have your head for this. Then Jadis says, who do you think sent the order? So it's not looking good for her, and I think she's lost Huck, she's lost her position. All she has now left to do is to tell information to who Huck was friends with, maybe seeing Silas, as he's the one in the CRM. Then Iris says she's going to travel to Portland with some of Indira's people to warn them about the CRM, and she's going to return with Portland reinforcements. Now the timeline matches up to where these Portland reinforcements could be this big army that Michonne saw. But when they actually see Portland, you can't really imagine they'd wear clothes like this and be so strict. These two people here actually said to Michonne they were going to leave them behind. One of them were injured. Was this really a place under the alliance of the three at the CRM? Portland is a city. These don't look like reinforcements. They look like they're always on the move. The three cities under the CRM are all living pretty normally like we do today. But what we can hear and see here are horses and wagons. This isn't something the CRM would employ. Although they've been confirmed to be people vital to Michonne finding the CRM, it doesn't scream to me that it's anything to do with Portland right now. Even if it's the whole city reuniting to go and find Felix and form some kind of rebellion. But I think a lot more blanks need to be filled. I don't see why people dressed like this would come from a city like this. What's still so important about the World Beyond characters that can't just be ditched now the show's ending is Leo's discovery. His idea of injecting fungi into the zombies and making them rot quicker actually started to work. That itself can't be ignored. Elton wakes up and so joins Iris and Indira's people on their journey to Portland, and we see a shot of Elton opening the door back in season 1 when they go out and experience the real world. And I think it was a nice little neat bow to put on this limited series 2 seasons show that shows a more glossy look into the Walking Dead universe. It's there for you if you want it. I think it ended nicely, and in one word, World Beyond was good. Mediocre sometimes hard to watch, but it was good. I think season 2 should have had 5 episodes because a lot of them just weren't needed. 5 to 6 episodes would have done all they needed to do. And it ended. They just carry on with their Walking Dead lives in the Walking Dead world with walking zombies. And that's all there is to it. How long I've waited for you.
Variant cohorts you referred to in our last communication. We haven't seen anything like that here at all. Nothing close.
The end credit scene for the final episode of World Beyond changes everything. Everything you've ever thought about The Walking Dead is changed from these 5 minutes. In season 1, we were told by Dr. Jenner that France was the last place to fall. Yet in this end credit scene, we're here. This woman is copying videotapes, messages from Dr. Jenner, documents of his contact with France and the experiments they're doing. He's talking about stuff we've never seen before. They've got the actor in to do more tapes, which I think is amazing. This man walks in and aims a gun at this woman's head and says, "Are you a doctor?" The woman replies, "Yes." He asks her, "Are you a member of the Primrose team?" She replies, "No, the Violet team." So we're introduced to these new 2 teams, Primrose and Violet. He asks, "Where are Primrose?" And she says, "Toledo," which he assumes is Spain, but she says, "No, Ohio in America." She says she hopes they were here when it started, that somehow they came back, but they were in America when it happened. This woman was involved in making this Primrose and Violet team, and it was this Primrose team that made the virus. These doctors started it all. He shoots this doctor in the head, and he makes it out of there pretty quickly. And then it cuts to one of the new Dr. Jenner tapes that we've never heard before, and he sounds interested in this new variant. He says he wants to know more about these variants cohorts. He's never heard of them, but these French doctors seem to know a lot about them. This is one of quite a few things that Dr. Jenner probably never knew about. There's officially a new variant walker in the Walking Dead universe. They're faster, stronger, and they still have some kind of memory template in them because she knew where the door was. She gets up after being shot in the head, still able to walk, she's fast, she goes for the door, and she's stronger, she makes dents in it. There's new walkers. I've wanted this for a really long time, and I think this is the thing that will make the Rick movies a million times better. I understand you might be disappointed that there was no actual picture of Rick or mention of even the word Grimes, but I think this is a million times cooler. This is what Rick's going to be up against. This means the CRM and World Beyond were never the be it and end all. They're simply the catalyst for this new variant getting out, making the Rick movies something even bigger than it already was. Dr. Jenner also talks about manipulating brain cells to try and confuse the nerve systems to bring it back and change it. They were experimenting with new walkers. The CRM have 100% already tampered with this. They've got something of this in the US, and that's how it's all going to start. That's why a cure now is a million times more necessary. These aren't just walkers and bodies decaying, slowly walking towards you. These are people that can't die. And I think in the end, it's going to be Rick that ends it all. And I do think it will end in sacrifice. On the ceiling of this room is written Les morts sont nés ici. This translates to the dead are born here. The virus started in France. The CRM are likely aware of this variant, and it now makes a million times more sense as to why they want a cure. It's about these people that can't die, these actual monsters that will literally take over the world. It goes a lot deeper, a lot darker, and these 5 minutes gave me everything I wanted from The Walking Dead. It's just perfection. This is what I love about it, what I've always loved about it. So I'm really happy with it. But what do you think? Are you happy there's new walkers coming in The Walking Dead? What do you think Rick's part to play is in all of this? Because this is still a Rick Grimes movie teaser. I didn't need the mention of his name at all. Jed has already mentioned him being a B, then an A, and all of that. This, to me, is a huge teaser for the movies. This is what Rick's going to be dealing with. It couldn't be better. Him versus fast walkers. Let me know what you think is going to happen next. What does this mean for The Walking Dead? Will we see this in the main show? If you enjoyed the video, then check out this video where I talk about how Morgan will be returning to The Walking Dead based on recent rumours. The filming for Fear has moved to Georgia, you know, where The Walking Dead is, so check that out to know more about that. Watch this video where I talk more about how Rick Grimes would have tried to escape the CRM and what's going to happen to Jadis. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.